From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Anne Waodo.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, President Bola Tinubu submits 58.18 trillion naira 2026 budget to National Assembly, unveils new security policy labeling all armed non-state actors outside government control as terrorists nationwide. Foreign Minister Yusuf Tugar confirms Nigerian soldiers freed in Burkina Faso have landed safely at the Air Force Base in Accra, Ghana today. President Tinubu warned state governors he might issue an executive order to ensure direct local government allocations, stressing compliance with the Supreme Court ruling upholding financial autonomy for Nigeria's third tier. And President Vladimir Putin declares Russia seeks no further wars post-Ukraine if treated respectfully, rejects allegations of planned attacks on European nations and rising international tensions.
On business news, federal government issues the first 590 billion naira bond under the Presidential Power Sector Initiative to settle debt owed to electricity generation companies.
On sports news tonight, new Super Eagles captain Wilfred Ndidi says the 2025 AFCON in Morocco is an opportunity to make amends after missing out on the 2026 World Cup.
We begin tonight with the budget presentation made today by President Bola Tinubu, who presented a 58.18 trillion naira 2026 appropriation bill to a joint sitting of the National Assembly, announcing a major security policy that classifies all armed non-state actors operating outside government authority as terrorists. The president said the 2026 budget, themed Budget of Consolidation, Renewed Resilience and Shared Prosperity, represents a crucial stage in his administration's reform drive, aimed at consolidating economic gains while strengthening Nigeria's security framework. Our National Assembly correspondent Gloria Umezoke reports.
President Bola Tinubu, represented by the Vice President Kashim Shettima, began the day with an emergency Federal Executive Council meeting, and at the core of that meeting is the 2026 appropriation bill, reviewed upwards from 54.5 trillion naira to 58.1 trillion naira. President Bola Tinubu, at exactly 3 p.m., proceeded to the National Assembly with the prepared budget, arriving at the Green Chamber to a joint sitting of the National Assembly. The Vice President, governors, cabinet members, among others, are also present.
The National Assembly stands ready to work with you. We are working with you to strengthen the works that you are doing, to refine what must change, and to ensure that every naira appropriated serves the people who earn it. Only one concern, Mr. President. As we direct the security agencies to withdraw policemen from critical areas, we plead with the President for a review of the decision.
President Tinubu mounts the podium and assertively opens his speech by addressing the critical challenge of multiple budgets.
We are terminating the habit of running 3 budgets on one inflow. By March 31st, 2026, all capital liabilities from previous years will be fully funded and closed. From April, Nigeria operates on a single budget, backed by a single revenue cycle. No overlaps, no excuses, no rollovers culture.
Key aggregates of the budget include expected total revenue pegged at 34.33 trillion naira, projected total expenditure at 58.18 trillion naira, including 15.52 trillion naira for debt servicing, recurrent non-debt expenditure at 15.25 trillion naira. Capital expenditure at 26.08 trillion naira, with a deficit of 23.85 trillion naira, representing 4.28% of the GDP.
Let me be clear. 2026 will be a year of stronger discipline in budget execution. I have issued directives to the Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, the Accountant General of the Federation, and the Director General of the Budget Office of the Federation to ensure that the 2026 budget is implemented strictly in line with appropriated details and timelines.
The president also announced that defense and security will take the largest share of priority spending, gulping 5.41 trillion naira in the latest budget.
We will usher in a new era of criminal justice. We will show no mercy, I repeat. Under this new architecture, any armed group or gun-wielding non-state actors operating outside the state authority will be regarded as terrorists. Bandits, militia, armed gangs, armed robbers, violent cults, forest-based armed groups, and foreign-linked mercenaries will all be targeted. We will go after all those who perpetrated violence for political or sectarian ends, along with those who finance and facilitate their evil schemes.
Other key provisions in the budget include 3.56 trillion naira for infrastructure, 3.52 trillion for education, and 2.48 trillion naira allocated to the health sector. The president then presents the 58.1 trillion naira 2026 budget.
The National Assembly received the 2026 appropriation bill with confidence that the lessons of 2025 have been fully internalized and that this budget is designed to translate reform into tangible progress for Nigerians.
President Tinubu has also pledged that beyond prioritizing food security in 2026, his administration will be guided by three major commitments, including improved revenue mobilization, smarter spending on priority projects, and stronger accountability aimed at rebuilding public trust. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, commendations and optimism have trailed the budget presentation at the National Assembly. Some lawmakers have commended the president for aiming to stop the continuous rollover of budgets, while others have expressed optimism that the 2026 budget will be fully funded despite concerns around the revenue shortfall. Our National Assembly correspondent Terry Kumi spoke to lawmakers and guests who witnessed the budget presentation by the president.
The 2026 budget of consolidation, renewed resilience and shared prosperity was presented to members of parliament just days after they received the medium-term expenditure framework, which was speedily passed by both chambers. The president seeks the partnership of parliament in charting the nation's fiscal course for the coming year, and it would seem that lawmakers are satisfied with the document despite several weeks of complaining about poor funding of the 2024 and 2025 budgets.
I see also a president who is in terms with the current realities, having acknowledged the shortcomings of the implementation of the 2024 and 2025 budget years.
I think that this budget of consolidation will be able to tackle matters that has to do with fiscal discipline, and I'm happy the president said we're going to have one budget in a year, and this will lead to what we can call budgetary discipline.
What Nigerians are expecting will be positive impact of this budget on the lives of Nigerian people.
Basically, he's focusing on the fundamentals, the security, education, infrastructure, and of course, food security. So I think for me, he has said very clearly that it's a budget of consolidation, and the budget he has presented has actually shown that it's a budget of consolidation.
The president's commitment to putting a stop to rolling over budgets is welcomed by members of parliament.
Capital projects to the end of 2025 shall all be consolidated by March 2026, which means by April next year they shall all be closed. Be closed in the sense that they shall all be implemented. That should be commended.
My position is that the most realistic message of the budget is to say that this 2026 budget is to harmonize every existing budget and to put a stop to implementing budgets of 3 budgets on a row.
President Tinubu have said it all, and you can see what he said. This is 2026 going to be a single budget, which is what all Nigerians are asking for.
Lawmakers also appear optimistic that the 2026 budget will not suffer the same revenue shortage problem as the 2 previous budgets.
The attention now is basically on the revenue aspect, and you know the tax law is starting 1st January, and by that projection, I believe this shortfall should be, if not eliminated, should be minimized. And, you know, even customs that I chair, this year they surpassed their revenue, I think maybe up to 2 trillion, but let us see the total figure by 31st December of this year. So, and I believe in next year, they will do better.
The most talked about issue in the 10th Assembly so far has got to be security. Lawmakers believe the president's budget proposals suggest that he has chosen to prioritize security.
The president has budgeted over 10% of the budget for security, to fight insecurity, and he has also labeled all non-state actors who are carrying arms in the country as terrorist organizations. So we think he has a clear focus and agenda of what he wants to achieve, and we hope that the implementation will be properly achieved, just like he himself has stated that the budget is only good when it is implemented.
Security, we know what we have been passing through, and it's supposed to be the cardinal point of every budget cycle between now and in the next 5 years. So he got it right.
Both chambers have promised to speed up the process to the passage of the budget, as they did with the medium-term expenditure framework, highlighting the 10th Assembly's strong collaboration with the Tinubu administration. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
The People's Democratic Party has described the 2026 appropriation plan as a budget of consolidated renewed sufferings, arguing that the government has failed to address unmitigated hardship facing Nigerians. A statement signed by the PDP's National Publicity Secretary, Comrade Eni Emebong, expresses concern over the admission of President Tinubu that the execution of the 2024 capital budget had been extended to December 2025, while the 2025 budget is still in force. The party also says the operation of different budgets at the same time undermines fiscal discipline, transparency, and accountability. While acknowledging the allocation for security in the 2026 budget, the PDP said, quote, "We must remind the government that Nigerians that allocation alone is insufficient. We therefore demand effective and transparent execution to ensure the security funding translates into tangible improvements, modern equipment, adequate ammunition, improved intelligence capabilities, and better welfare for security personnel who are currently engaged in different theaters of armed conflict, where criminal non-state actors are alleged to possess superior arms compared to our security forces. End of quote. The PDP also calls for increased transparency and accountability in the administration of finances of the country, as these are critical to building public trust and effective public administration. In part two, after the break, Foreign Minister Yusuf Tugar confirms Nigerian soldiers freed in Burkina Faso have landed safely at an Air Force base in Accra, Ghana today. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. President Tinubu submits 58.18 trillion naira 2026 budget to National Assembly, unveils new security policy labeling all armed non-state actors outside government control as terrorists. Foreign Minister Yusuf Tugar confirms Nigerian soldiers freed in Burkina Faso have landed safely at an Air Force base in Accra, Ghana today. President Tinubu warned state governors he might issue an executive order to direct local government allocations, stressing compliance with the Supreme Court ruling upholding financial autonomy for Nigeria's third tier. And President Vladimir Putin declares Russia seeks no further wars post-Ukraine if treated respectfully, rejects allegations of planned attacks on European nations and rising international tensions. President Bola Tinubu has issued a strong warning to state governors, saying that he may sign an executive order to guarantee direct funding for local governments if they fail to comply with the recent Supreme Court ruling affirming financial autonomy for the nation's third tier of government. President Tinubu made the remark at the 15th National Executive Committee meeting of the All Progressives Congress in Abuja, addressing party leaders, including Vice President Kashim Shettima, Senate President Godswill Akpabio, and House Speaker Abbas Tajuddin. The president stressed that the Supreme Court judgment must be respected, adding that local governments cannot be denied the resources meant for them.
Now that you have your elections at the local government level, you are the supervisors, the vigilators, the INEC, and everything of the local government. You elected them. Nobody help you, the governors. So since you elected them, it means you know them. You are responsible for their survival. But the Supreme Court has capped it for you again, saying give them their money directly. So if you wait for my executive order, because I have the knife, I have the yam. I will cut it. Before FAC, we do the arithmetic, we know the percentage, and I've sent it to their account. I'm just being very respectful and understanding with my governors. Otherwise, if you don't start to implement it, fact after fact, you will see yes, the ultimate goal is our Supreme Court. We have to comply. We have to respect the judgments.
The federal government has signed a landmark memorandum of understanding with the United States of America to deepen healthcare delivery in Nigeria. The coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Pate, signed this deal in Abuja with the U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. Richard Mills. It marks a major milestone in the renewed health partnership between both countries. According to Professor Pate, the MOU provides a 5-year technical framework to guide U.S. grant supports to Nigeria's health sector, while supporting the country's transition towards increased domestic financing and reduced dependence on external aid.
The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare is joined by the Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of the Economy, in company of the United States Ambassador to Nigeria, to seal an agreement that will strengthen bilateral cooperation and funding for healthcare delivery in Nigeria. Representatives of the key ministries as well as state governments and other key stakeholders are present to witness the landmark event. The MOU is focused on 7 areas of cooperation, including disease surveillance and outbreak response, laboratory systems, commodities, frontline healthcare workers, data systems, strategic investment, and technical assistance.
We're here because there's a moment in time when we need to close on the Memorandum of Understanding to be signed between the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the government of the United States of America to deepen our cooperation in health, to strengthen health security and resilience. And this is one more milestone in a journey that started several months ago.
The signing of this Memorandum of Understanding between the United States and Nigeria, it is the latest step in what is our ongoing shared commitment to advancing the health and well-being of citizens within our respective countries.
Over a 5-year period from April 2026 to December 2030, the United States government will provide almost $2 billion in grant funding, while Nigeria will commit at least 6% of executed annual federal and state domestic budgets to health, to mobilize nearly $3 billion for health within the same time frame.
I'm happy to be here, happy to witness this all-important signing of this memorandum. And what follows from there is that cash will flow. So one thing has gone away, but it's been replaced by another initiative, another approach that is bringing us funding.
The health minister and the U.S. ambassador then put pen to paper to seal the deal. According to the minister, the counterpart funding is already included in the 2026 budget as the government aims to ultimately attain self-sufficiency in funding healthcare delivery in the country.
The federal government has confirmed that its C-130 military aircraft, which made a precautionary landing in Bobo Dioulasso in Burkina Faso, has now departed the country and arrived safely at the Air Force Base in Accra, Ghana. The development follows the resolution of a diplomatic dispute between Nigeria and Burkina Faso over the aircraft's entry into Burkinabe airspace. But Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tugar, announced the aircraft's safe arrival on his X handle, confirming that the pilots and crew were in good condition, noting that the outcome reflects Nigeria's commitment to diplomacy and regional cooperation, and crediting President Bola Tinubu's leadership in resolving sensitive matters through dialogue. A separate statement from the Director of Public Relations and Information for the Nigerian Air Force, Air Commodore Ehime Jodame, explains that the aircraft's stopover in Ghana aligns with its updated flight plan. The C-130 is scheduled to continue to Portugal for depot maintenance, passing through Banjul and Casablanca. And that statement also confirms that the aircraft remains serviceable and that all personnel is safe, adding that the Air Force continues to operate to the highest standards of professionalism and safety. The aircraft's unexpected landing in Burkina Faso had drawn widespread public attention, prompting direct diplomatic engagement on President Tinubu's directive. Foreign Minister Tugar led a delegation to Ouagadougou, where he met with Burkina Faso's leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, before briefing journalists on the resolution. And as the world marks International Day of Persons with Disabilities, the Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project, HYPREP, says that it is stepping up efforts to economically empower persons living with disabilities across the 4 Ogoni local government areas of Rivers State. That assurance was given in Bori during the 2025 International Day of Persons Living with Disabilities celebration organized by the Ogoni Association of Persons Living with Disabilities, with renewed calls for deliberate inclusion and sustainable empowerment. Our correspondent Deborah Miefibarasima reports.
Persons living with disabilities in Ogoniland are in Bori to mark the 2025 International Day of Persons Living with Disability, using the platform to highlight the need for inclusion, dignity, and economic empowerment. The event, organized by the Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project, HYPREP, for the Ogoni Association of Persons Living with Disabilities, is an opportunity for stakeholders to reaffirm their commitment to ensure persons with disabilities are not left behind in the Ogoni cleanup process. The project coordinator of HYPREP, Professor Nene Barini Zabe, said the celebration was organized to honor persons living with disabilities even after the globally recognized International Day on December 3rd.
They are all carriers of hope on the project. So the project is an inclusive one because it ensures that all stakeholders are included in our activities. Apart from general project activities, we also have stakeholder-specific activities. So today we are marking the International Day of People Living with Disabilities, or people living with special needs.
Beyond assurances, HYPREP says concrete plans are already on the way to support the economic independence of persons with physical challenges. As the head of livelihood at HYPREP, Josephine Nzede maps out 5 key empowerment areas beginning next year.
HYPREP, in its bid of inclusivity of every stakeholder in Ogoni land, we have not left the people living with disability behind. We're all planning to train them in 5 skill areas that they selected during a needs assessment in November 2024. We'll be training them in photography, fish farming, computer science, fashion, and one other skill is 5 skill areas that will be training them, 60 persons per these skill areas. And we have just spoken with them to ensure that they select people that are going to make good use of the skills that we're going to be providing for them.
For the Ogoni Association of Persons Living with Disabilities, the celebration goes beyond symbolism, as the association's president called for deliberate employment, scholarships, medical outreaches, and institutional support to sustain disability inclusion in Ogoni land.
Because we've not seen this in the history of Ogoni, that HYPREP is celebrating with us. We are very happy because we believe that the Lord have used the project coordinator to answer most of our prayer. Because as we speak, he has said it already that the 5 skill training will start by January, which means the person with disability who is going to have a handwork, have some things to do. And this is what we have been requesting and asking the societies to see what they can do to impact persons living with disabilities.
HYPREP's management is optimistic that sustained engagement and targeted empowerment initiatives will further strengthen inclusion and social progress across the 4 local government areas for all. Deborah Miefibarasima, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, federal government issues first 590 billion naira bond under the Presidential Power Sector Initiative to settle debts owed to electricity generation companies. And that's in business news. Please join us again. Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10 on Channels Television. With a continued vision to strengthen Lagos State's mobility, technology-enabled transportation ecosystem, LagRide and the United Bank for Africa have sealed a major partnership, a $100 million financing facility to expand the Drive to Own scheme. The chairman of LagRide, Diana Chen, describes this landmark investment as a major step in empowering 3,500 drivers with long-term asset ownership opportunities.
The melodious sound of applause fills the air as the chairman and staff of LagRide welcomed the GMD of the United Bank for Africa to the LagRide Center in Lagos. The occasion is a contract signing ceremony of a $100 million expansion facility between LagRide and United Bank for Africa. Officials of both institutions put pen to paper.
Within 4 years, right? GND give us very clear direction. We want the whole Lagos to share with how they are living in the comfortable city when they every day have LagRide to deliver the destination wherever they want to go.
Lagos will change because of us. And we not only stop in Lagos, we'll move beyond Lagos. We will make sure that all the objectives of this partnership is met.
The initiative aims to expand its drive-to-own scheme and empower 3,500 Lagos drivers with long-term asset ownership opportunities.
Then you're not just driving the car, you can be the investor. You can manage it, not just you, one person. You can manage it 10 people, you can manage it 20 people. In the large extent, your capability, you can manage up to 100 people. Then you're SME. That's the purpose for the bank to give the opportunity for us today. We should appreciate the purpose of the bank.
This is a proof that discipline creates pathway and professionalism build what? Futures. As we move forward, our responsibility is clear. We must protect the standard that brought us here, continue to improve our skill, and represent LagRide Nigeria Limited as a benchmark for smart, clean, and reliable mobility in Lagos. Together, we are not just moving people, we are moving the city of Lagos.
Before the ceremony finally winds down, officials of LagRide and UBA toured the facility and vehicles.
Wema Bank has held the grand finale of the 2025 edition of Hackaholics, which took place at the bank's headquarters right here in Lagos, titled Hackaholics 6.0. That event was attended by the financial institution's management, finalists, as well as past winners, with a total cash prize of 120 million naira.
This is the grand finale of Wema Bank's Hackaholics 6.0 themed #BeyondAlgorithm, where young innovators, tech enthusiasts, finalists and supporters have gathered to witness the climax of this empowerment journey. In an opening statement, Wema Bank's Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer Maruf Oseni, represented by the bank's Chief Information Officer, described Hackaholics as a powerful expression of Wema Bank's belief in the creativity and problem-solving strength of young Nigerians.
When we launched Hackaholics 6 years ago, we envisioned a platform, a movement. The growth we have witnessed since then has been staggering, a testament to your brilliance. This year, we saw that spirit shine brighter than ever through a dual-track approach for core technical innovators and startup founders with brilliant ideas.
Delivering his keynote, the Executive Director of Retail Banking emphasized that Wema Bank's mission goes beyond sparking ideas. It's about building long-term partnerships that drive real-world impact.
Hackaholics 6.0, we want to do 9.0, 10.0, 25.0, 80.0, and so that every year, our biggest investment in Wema Bank is in people.
The event then transitioned into a panel session where industry leaders unpacked how startups can scale, grow sustainably, and harness opportunities for the future.
Two great distinction is founders that are resilient, that can take a punch, get to their knees, stand up the next day, and come back at it.
There needs to be some sort of balance to know that the thing you are building, the novel idea you think you have, you're not the only one that has it.
You have to make sure that you're building processes that can support scale for now nationwide.
And after all the ideas, energy and innovation, it was finally time to crown the winners. Across both hackathon and ideathon categories, the duo, Chow, clinched the grand prize of 25 million naira.
CHAO! Chow! Congratulations to you guys!
We're grateful to Wema Bank for this opportunity. We're filled with thanks. They've been a part of our journey, and it's just gratitude. And we're looking forward to reaching out to more food businesses through Wema Bank's network and being able to reshape the food industry in Nigeria.
Since its debut in 2019, Hackaholics has grown into one of Nigeria's most exciting youth innovation platforms, powering tech talent, driving digital solutions, and aligning with Wema Bank's growth-focused philosophy to build a smarter future.
And next on the news at 10, President Vladimir Putin declares Russia seeks no further wars post-Ukraine if treated respectfully, rejects allegations of planned attacks on European nations amid rising international tensions, and that's on foreign scene. Please join us again. Welcome back. Let's join Dominic Iwewu for stories in the world of business.
Thank you, Anne. And on business news, the federal government has issued the first 590 billion naira bond under the presidential power sector debt reduction program to settle payments owed to verified electricity generation companies and gas suppliers. According to a statement issued by Nigeria Bulk Electricity Trading Special Purpose Vehicle Finance Company, the bond market, the commencement of the first phase of the bond issuance, which aims to raise 1.2 trillion naira by the first quarter of 2026. The 7-year bond, which will be listed on the Nigerian Exchange Limited and FMDQ Securities Exchange, has a coupon range of 16.25% to 16.75%. The stock market ended Friday's trading session flaming hot as the benchmark index re-enters the 152,000 points. Willie Bong tells us more.
Welcome to the Stock Market Report. It's the final one before the week of Christmas. And what better way to end this week than with a percentage rise of over 1%. Now, the adrenaline rush can be felt for some stocks in the market, pushing the all-share index higher to close at 152,057 points. And that's about 2,000 points more than it closed on Thursday. Now, this jump is attributed to stocks like Boa Foods, which added 41 naira 70 kobo to its share price to close at 734 naira 20 kobo. Now, banking stocks like First Old Coal and Sterling Bank saw huge value and volume traded today. However, UBA lost 1 naira 60 kobo in today's session, and the Turner pulled back oil and gas. Now, investors are definitely keeping an eye on federal government spending to decide the next direction for investments. And those are the highlights for today. Will Ibong signing out.
Thank you, Will. Now let's bring you the closing figures of major world stock markets for Friday. And that's it on business news. Back to Anne for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Dominic. Now let's join Simon Pusey for more international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. European Union leaders have struck a late-night deal to lend Ukraine 90 billion euros over the next 2 years after failing to agree on using frozen Russian assets. Ukraine was set to run out of cash by next spring, and European Council Chief Antonio Costa said the loan would be paid back only when Russia paid reparations for its full-scale war. A bid to use the 210 billion euros in Russian cash frozen in the EU, mainly in Belgium, ultimately failed as the leaders could not convince Belgium's Prime Minister he would be protected from Russian retaliation. The bulk of the cash is being held by Brussels-based Euroclear, and interest from the frozen assets is already being paid to Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia has launched legal action against the clearinghouse.
Our goal is not to prolong the war. In fact, today's decisions are a crucial contribution to achieve a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. Because the only way to bring Russia to the negotiation table is to strengthen Ukraine.
President Donald Trump has suspended the U.S. green card lottery scheme in the wake of a mass shooting at Brown University last week, in which 2 people were killed. The suspect, a Portuguese man, was found dead on Thursday, entering the country through the Diversity Lottery Immigration Visa Program. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said she has paused the visa scheme under Trump's direction to ensure no more Americans are harmed by this disastrous program. U.S. officials said they believed the 48-year-old suspect also killed Portuguese Massachusetts Institute of Technology professor Nuno Lueiro earlier this week. The Australian government has announced a gun buyback scheme in the wake of the Bondi Beach attack, its deadliest mass shooting in decades. The scheme is the largest since the Port Arthur massacre in 1996, which left 35 people dead and prompted Australia to introduce world-leading gun control measures. 15 people were killed and dozens injured on Sunday when 2 gunmen believed to have been motivated by Islamic State ideology opened fire on a Jewish festival at the country's most iconic beach.
There are now more than 4 million firearms in Australia, more than at the time of the Port Arthur massacre, nearly 30 years ago. The government will introduce legislation to support the funding of this buyback scheme and meet the costs on a 50-50 basis with states and territories.
Staff at 2 leading Bangladeshi newspapers say they were gasping for air as protesters, roused by the death of a prominent activist, set their offices on fire. Sharif Osman Hadi, who had emerged as a key figure after last year's anti-government protests that ousted the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, was shot in Dakar last week and died of his injuries on Thursday. Hundreds of protesters stormed the offices of English newspaper The Daily Star and Bengali daily Protom Alo on Thursday night, and the demonstrations extended into the next day. For the first time in 35 years, the Daily Star could not publish its print edition on Friday, and management said it would be inoperable for a while. UN-backed food security experts have found improvements in nutrition and food supplies in Gaza since the ceasefire, but say 100,000 people are still experiencing catastrophic conditions. In August, the Integrated Food Security Phase classification found that 500,000 people, about a quarter of Gaza's population, were living in areas suffering from famine. Since a fragile ceasefire came into force in October, the UN and other humanitarian agencies have been able to increase food getting into Gaza. Israel's foreign ministry said the report was deliberately distorted and doesn't reflect the reality in the Gaza Strip.
More than 75% of the population are projected to face extreme levels of acute food insecurity and critical malnutrition risks. It breaks my heart to see the ongoing scale of human suffering in Gaza.
TikTok's Chinese owner ByteDance has signed binding agreements with US and global investors to operate its business in America. Half of the joint venture will be owned by a group of investors, including Oracle, Silver Lake, and the Emirati investment firm MGX, according to a memo. The deal, which is set to close on the 22nd of January, would end years of efforts by Washington to force ByteDance to sell its US operations over national security concerns. It is in line with a deal unveiled in September, when US President Donald Trump delayed the enforcement of a law that would ban the app unless it was sold. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks indeed, Simon, and welcome to Sports News. New Super Eagles captain Wilfred Ndidi says it's a huge responsibility stepping into the shoes of retired captain William Troost-Ekong as the three-time African champions are set to begin their campaign at the Cup of Nations in Morocco. Ndidi admits he has huge support from his teammates as they face a big task in reclaiming the AFCON trophy for the fourth time, having lost to Cote d'Ivoire in the finals in the last edition. To club football now, Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola says that his departure from the club is not on the table at the moment as he focuses on trying to wrestle back the Premier League title. Guardiola is contracted at the Etihad until the end of the 2026-27 season, but reports this week suggest Manchester City's hierarchy will iron up a potential replacement should the former Barcelona and Bayern Munich coach step away at the end of the current campaign. Staying with the Premier League, Mikel Arteta is expecting a thrilling clash at the Hill Dickinson Stadium on Saturday as it will mark 6 years to the day since he took over as Arsenal manager when the Premier League leaders visit Everton. Arteta has led the Gunners to an FA Cup and 2 Community Shields, but has fallen short rather in the league, with the Gunners finishing second in the last 3 seasons. With our sports, I'm Kelly. Thank you guys. Back to Anne.
Thank you, Kelly. And the main news again. President Tinubu has submitted 58.18 trillion naira 2026 budget to National Assembly, unveiling new security policy labeling all armed non-state actors outside government control as terrorists nationwide. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawade. Good night and have a wonderful weekend.